Our first speaker is Sammy Rangel. He's going to speak for 40 to 45 minutes. He's a former gang member. He has a lot of wonderful programs right now. He works in the city of Racine with many people. But Sammy spent a number of years in prison, and he's going to be telling you a little bit about his experiences, what programs work for him, how can you tell if a program's working. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Sammy Rangel.
Good morning. I was wondering why I was so nervous and I forgot this was mostly law enforcement, so some things never change. I need to test my microphone. Can you guys hear me off my telemicrophone? People in the back? You get a head nod back there? Okay. You can kind of tell me how to turn this on. You want to take care of it? Thank you. Well, first of all, I need to say thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. As you heard Dean say, it's nothing short of a miracle that I'm here, and I also consider it nothing short of a blessing that we're all here together. I tend to try to see the brighter side of things today, and so I think that the way the opening started with the fact that we're all here collectively trying to work towards not only safety, but maybe some community harmony is really commendable. I don't think I've seen this in the very beginning of my career, but I certainly see it happening more often today. I want you to try to picture where you were 11 years ago. Think about where you were at this time 11 years ago. What you were doing, how old you were, where your career was, how far you've come in that point, from that point in time to now. 11 years ago, on November 11th, so almost 11 years to the date, I walked out of Oshkosh Correctional, Wisconsin Department of Correctional System. When I came to Wisconsin, I was on the run from Illinois Department of Corrections. I had just spent 4.5 years as a young man in their prison system, and then came out here on the run because, of course, when I got out of the prison system up there, I didn't come out any better. I came out a lot worse, in fact. I was a little more angrier, more violent, I would say. I really had no regard for freedom or for your rights or for your lives, actually. And so it was only a short matter of time before I found myself in the Department of Corrections up here. On both occasions, I want you to understand something. On both occasions that I did time as an adult, the first time I was supposed to do 8 months, and I did 4.5 years. And of that 4.5 years, about 28 months of those were in the hole. I was actually discharged from Stateville prison after spending 28 months in the hole. So that really, that transition is kind of awkward, to say the least, from spending all those years in that prison system to society. And it was actually to the point where I think I was a little more comfortable in the prison setting than I was in society. I knew the rules in the prison system, but I didn't necessarily know the rules of society. Now, the first half of my life, the first quarter of my life, I spent at home, and those were probably the worst years of my life, to be honest with you. Extreme abuse, sexual assaults, nobody really listening to the problems that me and my sister were having. So it really didn't seem like there was much hope in the world. So when I finally left home at 11 permanently, I became a homeless, or what I would say a throwaway youth. I was called a runaway, but in reality, I really felt more like a throwaway. I felt that there was really no one of interest in my life trying to take care of me, trying to pursue me, and nobody more guilty of that than my own parents. And there were occasions where we did have run-ins with the systems, the programs that are there to help us, that the district attorney and the attorney general was speaking of this morning. And those people really failed. They failed horribly at intervening in not only my life, but in the life of my sister. What I've recently found out on January 5th of 1969, and this is probably some of you can remember that time. My mother abused my brother Rene. And my brother Rene subsequently was only 20 months old at the time. He had a fractured skull. He had complete bruising down the right side of his body. When they took him to the hospital, they said he was bleeding from the nose and that he was passing out. My mother was 4 months pregnant with me, and my sister was about 3.5 years old. The only person that they ever took from the home was my brother.
And I was indoctrinated into my brother's role of being the abused right after I was born. So wherever my mother left off with my brother, my mother picked up with me. And from that time all the way through until I became much older, there was no intervention for us. We were told that some of the stories about our abuse were too incredible to believe, that they had to be some sort of figment of my imagination, that I was making these up. And that's despite the bumps, the bruises, the cuts, the scars, the witnesses that were telling that these things were happening. Now, we would think that in 1969, and now that things would be better. But don't we still read in the papers about these atrocious failures by the system to intervene when there are clear signs, and maybe even when there are not so clear signs? So it's not really surprising that I would end up in a Department of Corrections system eventually. And it really wasn't that far of a stretch from home life, to be honest with you. It really wasn't. I was born in violence, and everything about the streets and everything about the Department of Corrections kind of verified, validated that the world was a violent place. And so I want you to understand that when we're talking about intervention, that maybe some of the people that we're considering either locking up or eventually, punishing in some way, for the most part, some of those people are going to return. And that's why we need you to maybe have a skilled ear on how to detect whether or not your intervention is actually working. And I want to kind of challenge some of the traditional ways of evaluating whether change is occurring. Now, a part of what I've done since I've been out over the last 11 years is, one, get an education. Since 1999, I have graduated from Gateway with an associate's degree in human services in 2004. Actually, me and my wife here graduated together, walked the stage together. I graduated with presidential honors, which was a 4.0 GPA, and the state and district college ambassador, which meant I represented 500,000 students statewide. I wasn't at the top of my class, I was the top of my class. Thank you. From there, I went on to Carthage College in Kenosha, and I obtained my bachelor's in social work degree in 2008. And there I graduated with a 3.8 GPA and college success, community success award from my peers and the faculty there. And then I went on from there last year and graduated with my MSW, my Master's in Social Work, from Loyola University in Chicago.